Measure. It's a father-son podcast where we talk about music. So I'm Devin DeCary.
I'm Jay DeCary.
Yep. Today we're talking about Ed Sheeran. We're doing our artist overview, and today's artist is Mr. Ed Sheeran, who is one of our favorite artists to listen to. I think he's one of the best. I think he's one of this generation's best talents in music. I really think his music is some music that's going to last. You know?
Yeah, I've been a fan since I was first introduced to him. He's one of the best singer-songwriters of the generation, and he's assembled an incredible body of work in the short time. Mm-hmm. I mean, the guy's only 28 years old.
That's amazing.
And yeah, that's amazing in and of itself. For him to have, I think he first started recording music, and which he independently released. He started like when he was 13, I think 15. He released his first,
Wait, really?
short extended play. Yeah, it's just crazy. So when you look at that, and then look all he's achieved, just a big thing that actually came up recently is the Billboard Top 100 actually has a revolving list that they always keep of the top 100 songs of all time. Okay. And so artists fall off and fall on and whatever else it is. But just to give you an example of how far he's come in such a short time, him only being 28 years old, he already has a song within the top 10 of the top 100 songs of all time.
Well, that's fantastic.
And that song is Shape of You.
Uh-huh.
He falls in at number 9.
Okay.
Which he squeezed in, just to give you a little example, he's just below the Macarena by, exactly, Los Del Rio from 1996, and they're number 8. Mm-hmm. And he is just above Olivia Newton-John's hit, Physical.
Well, how about that?
Which sits at number 10. So he's in the top 10.
They really mean all time.
They mean all time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is just an incredible feat when you look at that a range of music. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he started, so young, and then he's also a great songwriter, which I know we'll get into.
Yeah.
And he's actually wrote a bunch of songs that I don't think a lot of people know that he wrote.
Yeah.
Because he's not necessarily featured on them. And he's done it with people like Taylor Swift. Yeah. Although in that particular endeavor, I think he was featured. They had a duet they did together. But he's written songs for Tori Kelly, One Direction, Rudimental, Justin Bieber. I think actually one of the more famous songs that he wrote, mm-hmm. That he's just a writer or co-writer on and didn't actually feature on, is Justin Bieber's Love Yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And that was written by Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
And it's probably his most popular non-singing, just songwriting credit that he has.
Yeah.
Although I do know that they have a collaboration that they just released.
Really?
Actually, it's going to be part of Ed Sheeran's next album, which is due out in July of 2019.
Okay.
But I know he's released a couple of singles already from that collection coming. But yeah.
It's funny, that Love Yourself song is probably my favorite Justin Bieber song. So it's really funny that that's also an Ed Sheeran song.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
But anyway, let's dig into his career a little bit.
Yeah.
When did you first
take notice?
Well, I'll tell you when I first take notice, because I think you took notice shortly after.
Yeah.
And that, of course, was with what is deemed as his first American release, his first major recording label mm-hmm. release, which was the Plus album, and that was the song The A-Team was on that.
Lego House.
Lego House was one of my favorites of his.
Yeah.
But the A-Team was the first song that made me go, who's this guy?
Yeah. Yeah, I was hearing Lego House and A-Team on the radio and stuff, and I don't know, I didn't take notice until I See Fire, which I was in the movie theater after The Hobbit.
Yeah.
And we had just seen The Hobbit. The first The Hobbit movie, to me, was not that bad. I liked it. And then I was like, that was a great movie. And then that song comes on, I'm like, wait a minute. Who's this guy?
Well, there's an amazing story with that song, too.
Yeah?
Do you know that he had, I think that song came out right around the time of his second release, which was Multiply. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think it came out just shortly before it. Maybe he had released a single or two from the album before the album was released. Mm-hmm. So he was just getting to be pretty, notable. Mm-hmm. And he was asked to basically come check out this movie, and we need a song for, a theme song or something for the closing credits, and would you consider doing it? So they brought him in, and he watched the film. And the amazing part is, is that he agreed to do it.
Uh-huh.
He went into the studio, wrote the song, recorded it, which, by the way, he did all the instruments himself. He plays every instrument in that song.
Yeah.
One exception that was done post-production. He plays everything but the cello. They added the cello in. But the song that you hear, basically, that he released is what he created all in one day.
Wow.
Writing it, recording it, doing all of the instruments.
On, man.
He even did the violin. And he will tell you he doesn't know how to play the violin.
Yeah.
He just... I mean, what was he going to do? He was in the creative moment, and he jumped into it, and that was the result. I want a violin here, so I guess I got to play it.
I got to play it. Wow.
So that song is just amazing in and of itself.
Yeah, wow. That's awesome, man. That's a really cool thing.
Of course, that after he got to be a little bit well known, I think a big part of his growing there too was I think after the Plus album, he toured as an opening act for Taylor Swift, and I think that opened huge doors for him because Taylor, of course, just has a massive following.
Yeah.
So to get that notoriety to be an open act for her, it's going to expose you to many more people. And there's definitely a shift in his following in that time. He basically grew by leaps and bounds from Plus to Multiply, and I think a lot of that had to do with his exposure to more and more music lovers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of funny. Multiply was the thing that multiplied his fans. Hep, 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 hep. All right. All right, so we can get into sort of like what makes him so effective as a musician if we want to, like about his music. Unless we still need to get into Divide.
Well, yeah, I mean we can continue the conversation with just where he is, and then we can go back and dissect if you want.
Sure.
So after Multiply came out, there was another leap in there for a little bit from the time that he released Multiply. He actually started his own record label, Gingerbread Man Records, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, so he's starting to be a grown-up with his own music.
Sure.
Not that he wasn't before, because any 13 or 15-year-old that can, record and release privately their own,
absolutely,
music is just incredible. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's a kind of there's something interesting that happens with him. And a lot of it I noticed, and we'll get into this a little bit later, is I've seen him twice on tour live. I saw him during his Multiply tour and then his Divide tour. Mm-hmm. And you can just see, I mean, the Multiply tour was still... His base was teenage girls, and you could see it reflected in the audience.
Yeah,
the adults were the ones that were dragged along there because they had to be a chaperone to the. Now I was a fan; I was there as a true fan.
Sure,
and I went with my son, and we had a great time. And always been a fan; it was great.
Your other son,
definitely, yeah, not you, the other son. But when we went to go see the Divide tour, that was like everybody. Yeah. He had cut into the adult contemporary, and he had just broadened this range where there was all different races, colors, ages, everything. He went from just in a few short years from his main base being teenage white girls to whole families of all different kinds.
Yeah,
and it was just it was kind of a nice to see, and it was reflected in his music as well. One of the things that interesting also that happened though is right after Multiply, there was like a year he was kind of radio silent.
Yeah,
like 2016 was like, where's Ed Sheeran? He's not on social media. He's not releasing any music. He's not collaborating with anybody. So yeah, I mean, there was just not even this inkling of anything that was going on with him. And then of course he, to the delight of many, including myself, December 2016 rolls around and he updates all his Twitter and Facebook and everything account with the blue logo, which we know became the Divide. All of his albums had that one color palette with the mathematical symbol.
Yeah,
that was like all of his album covers, first three albums, plus Multiply and Divide. So when that came out, everybody went and then January hit, and he released two singles simultaneously. Castle on the Hill, and Shape of You.
Shape of You.
Which, like as we already stated, became it's probably his biggest hit to date.
It is a big hit.
So anyway, that's just kind of where he's gone. He's gone from just this simple guy that just wanted to write music to leaps and bounds. Whether he did that, methodically, or it just kind of happened and he went with the natural progression, it still is just amazing and a testament to what he's done and what more we can expect to see from him.
Right.
So,
I mean, my biggest relationship with Ed Sheeran are between the two albums, Multiply and Divide. Those are the albums I really got to know personally and listen to over and over again. And there is a difference that you can hear in those albums. Multiply, he's still in his man with a guitar sort of phase, and he ventures into other instruments and more production value in a lot of his songs. Like
yes, he does.
Like Don't has that poppy, hip hoppy.
I'm a little bit more partial to the simple ones.
I am
him
too.
And the guitar.
I am too. I prefer those, but that's just a personal preference. There's no denying that those more produced songs are huge hits.
And anybody that has that preference, just an FYI out there, you will love his live performances because that is exactly what he does.
Right.
He is on a stage with a loop pedal and his guitar. And the first time that I saw him, and he had these long intros going in, and then it started, you started hearing new stuff coming in, and you're like, where is that coming from? And it took me a couple songs in before I even realized that he was looping the entire thing.
Yep.
And then singing with himself, and
That is fantastic. That you can do that at all, to me, is just so cool. I don't know. He's just such a cool guy.
I can't think of anybody else who can just be one guy out there. He's got no backup, no, whatever.
Yeah.
Can get out there and entertain the way he does.
Absolutely.
Now, I mean, there's not to take away from the other elements of the shows. I mean, he's actually got sound people obviously working with him and the video things and whatever else he's got going.
Yeah.
So it's not like, you're going to a coffee house and the guy's sitting up there strumming up a guitar with a loop pedal. It's a little bit more intricate than that.
Sure.
But the fact that it's pretty much basically what he's doing. And I think even in one case, he's like, when I saw him, he had even made a comment. I was like, I'm going to scrap that. I don't like the way that turned out. And he scraps the whole thing and starts all over.
That's cool, though.
So
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow, very cool. So yeah, we're basically up to modern day with him.
But so what do you think? I mean, we can talk a little bit more about his songwriting.
Yeah.
Because he is so prolific in that particular field, and so many people that want to collaborate with him, or he wants to collaborate with, or however that works. So what is it about him that makes him not have just one definable fan base, that makes it kind of jump through all these different genres and all these different hoops? Because think about people he's collaborated with. He's collaborated with the likes of Justin Bieber, but he's also got Beyonce in there. He's got, all these other people from different genre-based, artists, and everybody seems to want to work with him.
Yeah, well, I mean, everyone needs lyrics, and Ed is such a fantastic lyric writer. And what's great about Ed is it's not just that he can write lyrics, it's that he can write lyrics that reflect a melody. I mean, I really sincerely believe he must come up with one first, like either the lyrics first and the melody first, and then he must think about what, if he comes up with the lyrics first, he must think of a melody that matches those lyrics perfectly. Or if he comes up with the melody first, he must come up with lyrics that match the melody perfectly, because the lyrics always match the shape of the melody. So I was listening to, where I have it written down, Take Me in the Thinking Out Loud. You know that song, Thinking Out Loud?
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, take me into your loving arms. And it's also, when he says, take me into your loving arms, it is the highest point in the song. Literally, like the pitch. The melody goes at its highest point, and then it comes back down again. And just to tell someone, take me into your loving arms, it's almost like he's screaming it from the rooftops, sort of a thing, that idea. And he does that. That happens over and over again in his songs. In Shape of You, he keeps it in this, it's flirtatious, so he keeps it in a very low key, sort of like, hey, how's it going kind of feel, like where he doesn't venture out super high or super low. He keeps it really comfortable. And what's also very interesting is his melodies they're parallel. It's a lot of repeating motifs. So if you were to just sing the notes, you would be singing a lot of the same notes over and over again. So Shape of You is da 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 da. Now that by itself is not very interesting. It's like melodically.
No, but
when you add the story and the lyrics,
yeah.
It's perfect for the story. It's perfect for the lyrics. So that to me, that's where all the complexity comes from in his songs, because his chords are very simple. They stay in the key. They don't go crazy. His orchestration is often very simple. It's simple layering. If it's produced, it's simple layers. Or if it's just him and the guitar, it's simple chords. And
so it really comes down to execution for him.
Yeah,
and you can also see it in the way he delivers these lyrics.
Yeah.
And by that I mean anybody who's an Ed Sheeran fan knows that one of the things he does is he'll talk sing.
Yep.
And even though he can sing,
yeah,
because I'm not a big fan of people that do that, to do the talk sing thing.
Yes.
You know, but in his case, because the music is so compelling, and because he can sing, when he does that, it's obviously a personal choice that he's making. And he's gone on record as saying he's not a rapper, but he's obviously has some sort of connection with that type of music genre, because he gravitates to it in a lot of his songs, whether he's singing it or talk speaking it. And when I say talk speaking, I'm thinking of You Need Me, Man, I Don't Need You. You know, that kind of, that's a really rap centric song, but of course he sings the chorus, but he's just rattling off those lyrics so fast, and they're so complex, and how you keep them straight, because a lot of things in songs they repeat, or the same ideas repeat, or a line repeat. He has a tendency to like tell broad whole stories where none of the lines other than the choruses mimic or copy each other, or they're just brand new ideas and thoughts that are put on paper. He does it with that. In the song Sing, he really kind of gives an example of this, talk speak thing that he does, and he does it fast, so it's like he's rapping. It
is a rap, really. And then he does sing a note, but it's a monotone note, and he only comes off. It's like a 2-note verse. Like, love is ablaze and on stage. It's basically a rap.
Yeah.
He's singing just one note, going up and down between those 2 notes, but it's a rap. And I notice it in Nina. That's not a rap, really, when he goes into it, but the rhyming scheme is like a rap, because he'll rap in the middle of the sentence. He'll not just at the ends.
Yes.
He won't rap just the ends of sentences or rhyme just the end of sentences. He'll rhyme the middle of the sentences. He'll rhyme the start of the sentences, and he'll keep it going. And that's a very rhyming scheme to do. Rap as much as you can within the sentence, not just the ends of it.
And most songwriters, I'm generalizing here, but they're usually more strongly suited to one or the other, either melody or lyric.
Yep.
And he is amazingly very good at both.
Yes.
And I think that the fact that he keeps the melodies very simple.
Yes. And
very structured, gives him a lot of flexibility to go anywhere with the lyrics.
Yes.
Because that way, I mean, you know that if you instrumentalize to the nth degree, you're only going to have so much stuff, so much singing in that's going to flow into it. It's not. They're going to start fighting each other if you put too much into it.
Right. The idea is to have just a few good ideas, a few good motifs is the real word for it. And then use that as much as you can. Like, that is a core component of good music. Beethoven's Fifth Symphony is da-da-da-da, and that's it. Like, if you really listen to it...
That's true.
If you listen to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, it's just da-da-da-da, then it's da-da-da-da, so it's the same thing, but down a step. Yeah, it's just that. So that's a core of good music, using a motif and getting the most you can out of it. So, and Ed Sheeran does that to a T, particularly with his melodies. If you just listen to his melodies, they're just repeated motifs. And they maintain interest, because he'll change it up by the second or third verse a little bit melodically, but the lyrics just push it along. It's just really cool, well-crafted music. Not very many people can do that have that coveted skill of lyrics and melody.
Yeah.
Really only Billy Joel has been said to have that. Elton John, But Ed Sheeran does it by himself.
And Elton John has a partner,
Yeah, and he has a partner,
a lyricist that he works with. So it's not all just coming from Elton John.
Exactly. Ed Sheeran is all coming from this guy, and it's really cool stuff, man. Really love him.
So at this point, because I want to give us a little bit more time to talk about our top 5. Do you mind if we move into that already?
Yeah.
All right, so
let's do it.
Because our topic is Ed Sheeran, obviously our top 5 today is going to be Ed Sheeran.
We got to do it.
And I have a prediction.
Yeah.
And I could be totally off base here, but I have a prediction.
Yeah.
Our former top 5s have been fairly close. We've had over half of our top 5s be the same, maybe different orders. I have a feeling that
we're going to be completely
today
different.
we're going to be less of the ones that are the same. And I don't know why I think that. I think it's just because maybe the way you analyze music and you think of what's really great music is what I do. As I've stated on former podcasts, or previous podcasts rather, that really what moves me with music is how it makes me feel.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be obviously a place where I'm really coming from with this. And that said, this is probably the hardest top 5. I mean, we've talked about our top favorites of everything over the years.
Yes.
And this one, to me, I was just like, I can't leave. Oh, but what about that song? But what about that song?
Yeah.
So it just kind of, and so my reasoning is, for my top 5 anyways, I just tried to pick my favorite things about and hope my songs represent that different thing that I liked about them, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so to say what I'm saying is that my top 5 may not even really be my top 5.
Okay.
These are the top 5s I need to mention because they're great examples of what I love about Ed Sheeran.
That's good.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, you gotta have a cutoff somewhere. You gotta have a thing that differentiates his music from other music because he has so many great songs. To me, a tiebreaker was the story that was told, I think. Like, if I really liked the story, it was usually in my top 5. And, I was like, because I'm like, what I ended up doing is like, well, if the story really resonates with me, I'll write it down.
Yeah.
And then what I found out was that the ones that, the stories that I liked just ended up being my top 5.
That's a good way to pick your top 5. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, getting into it, I'll also state, a couple of my top 5s were not even singles he released.
Me too.
And so those of you who are just hearing Ed Sheeran on the radio or on iTunes, you are missing out.
Yes, you are.
If you like him even a little bit, I think you'll like him even more if you buy his albums and listen to him, because I guarantee almost on every album he'll release his singles that he does, but there's almost always one song that's like my favorite on that album that's not even released.
Yeah.
So you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not buying Ed Sheeran music.
Yeah, really do a deep listen on this guy.
So speaking of that, my first pick, my number 5, is a song called Runaway.
Yeah.
And it's from...
Wow, that's your 5.
That's my number 5.
I would have predicted that would be higher.
You know what? I'll get into that.
Sure.
It basically, this song resonated with me. It was kind of... It was just when people were starting to get to know his name, and I would say, or even when I would talk to other music lovers and go, "Oh, have you listened to Ed Sheeran? Do you know him? This and that and whatever else."
Yeah. And
you need to listen to him. And here's my favorite song. And I would have sworn when that album first came out, because at that point, after Icy Fire and after his first album, Plus, I had become a sight unseen Ed Sheeran fan. Which means he had a new album out, I bought it. I didn't care what was on it.
Got it.
I was going to buy that album and I was going to listen to it.
Totally.
So that was very much, I was one of the first people I knew that bought the Multiply album and had it and was listening to it from beginning to front. That's another thing that Ed Sheeran is good for. We didn't really mention in talking about him, is that I love artists where I can put an album on and listen to the whole thing and not skip songs.
Yeah.
And 2 of his albums do that for me every time. And
Multiply?
That's Multiply and Divide.
So,
but that said, Runaway was a single that he did not release, but I would have guessed that he would.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time I bought the album, I think he only had was the only single that he had out at the time. And I was like, oh, he's going to release that as a single. That's just a great song.
Yeah.
And part of it, it's funny you brought up the story, because I identified, it's a great beat, and you get sucked into it anyway. But I got sucked in by the story.
Yeah.
Because it was very relatable. And basically, it's a story of a complicated relationship between a son and a father.
Yeah.
Which, relationships are complicated with people. But this thing was just a very honest... feeling. Even the lyric about, he loves his dad, but he just doesn't want to be in the home with them anymore. He doesn't want to live with him.
Yeah.
So, and I guess which is something all young people come to a realization at different points in their lives, teenagers, early 20s, whatever.
Yes.
So the story part of that song really resonated with me, and so I had to include it somewhere in my top 5.
Gotcha. My number 5 is Nina. I put Nina at number 5.
Okay, so I want you to explain this one to me because I have a lot of people who tell me that.
Yeah?
They love that song, Nina.
Yeah.
Your brother has told me, oh, I love that song, Nina. And I'm like, yeah, it's a good song, but really? That's the top of your list on that album?
Yeah.
So talk to me about it.
I like it because of what it chooses to do. Well, the first verse it has that rap-like rhyming scheme right off the bat. Part-time lover to me, listening to Stevie Wonder, and it just rhymes like that the whole way through. There's lots of clever lyrical play like that in the verses. And then when you get to the chorus, you have that syncopated piano rhythm, that da 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 da, and that's really powerful. Then you have that overlaid with the lyrics, which seem to sort of play with the syncopated piano rhythm. I don't even know if I could do both at the same time, but it's like, oh, Nina, da 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 da, Nina.
Yeah.
Me both. You don't know what to me now. And it's just beautiful. And to me, it really it plays with itself really well. That syncopated piano rhythm with those lyrics. So I put Nina at number 5, and I was surprised too. But as
I'm not surprised to hear it, but it just I don't identify with that song the same way. So I get it. Mm-hmm. I get it because a lot of people have told me that. Oh, that's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
But really, I have heard that actually.
Okay.
So, what about your number 4?
Okay, number 4 is What Do I Know? Simple song. It's a very simple pop radio song, but it's so effective. It's so relatable, and it's something that I keep coming back to in today's hectic climate here in America. Just my gosh. And then you just go back to What Do I Know, and it's just like, yeah.
That one's catchy. I do know that when that one, I love singing along with that song because you can hear and understand everything he's saying, which sometimes you can't always do because he's singing so fast. You're like, wait a minute, what did you say? I think I got it.
Yeah.
I that's one of my favorites too. I like that one.
Yeah, and it's a shining sort of example of optimism that I go back to a lot. When it's hectic around, I put that on and I'm like, there's still people out there who believe this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, that's funny. And to our point earlier, so far none of our top picks have been singles.
Oh, you're right.
Or the same. Correct.
Yeah.
But I'm going to break that right here.
Okay.
My number 4 is kind of a mashup of 2.
Okay.
And I've done that a couple times, but this is just because they could not differentiate between the songs. And even though they are very different songs. Mm-hmm. So by that I mean Happier and Perfect.
Yeah.
Which were releases off of the Divide album. Mm-hmm. And back to back. I don't remember which one came first, but they were released consecutively.
Yeah.
So... And I love these songs because of the way they make me feel, but yet they are completely opposite songs. Mm-hmm. And by that I mean Happier, ironically, is a song about lost love.
Yeah.
And how that feels and how he just, is trying to figure out how to keep moving on and hey, if things don't work out with the guy you're with, I'm still here waiting for you and I still love you. And in the right moments and under the right stimulus, if I'm listening to that song, it will bring me to tears.
Yeah.
And I think it did the very first time I heard it. I was just like gripped with this emotion of like, oh my gosh, that's this guy has just been ripped apart by this thing that he's feeling.
Yeah.
So compare that to Perfect, which is probably one of the most perfect songs he's written. And for all of the reasons you stated he's famous for, his very simple story, but he just tells a great story. And of course this one is basically an exploration of this wonderful relationship that he has, and that he is in love and with the person he's with, and how perfect it is. And they were released back to back and butt up, and they basically have the same feelings of love, but tell completely different stories. Yeah. And so that's why I had to mash those together, because they're very similar, but yet at the same time completely different songs.
Okay. Yeah, those are good. Okay, so you want to say your number 3 then?
My number 3 is "Shape of You."
Okay, yeah.
And for that position, if for no other reason, because it deserved to be a top 5. And I had no idea where to put it. And every time, this song particularly moved up and down my 5. Yeah. But I would never knock it off because I knew it had to be in there. It was driving me crazy. So at the end of this whole thing, I'm like, I had all my other 4 songs kind of laid out, but where does the "Shape of You" song go? It's got to be in here somewhere. And so I just threw it right in the middle because I just could not...
Fair enough.
Figure it out. So that doesn't mean it's not a number 1. It was a number 1 song for him for many weeks. And like we already stated, it's a top 10 of all time.
Yeah, for Billboard.
From Billboard, yeah. So this song, of course, I loved. It's all the elements. It's the simpleness of the melody, and yet it's got a little bit more of an orchestrated or produced sound. He does a little bit of the rap-sing thing in it. He's also got some cool falsetto parts in there. To me, it just kind of... all the things I love about Ed Sheeran, it just kind of packed it into one.
Yeah.
And it was a catchy tune. And this is one of those ones when he first released it with Castle on the Hill, like that January. I think I even played it for you. And I was like, this is going to be his next hit.
You did.
This one is going to be his next hit, guaranteed.
Yeah.
And of course, it was everywhere, all over the world. My wife and I happened to be in Europe following months after this song came out. It was all over everywhere we went. We get a taxi cab, it would be on. We go in a store, a restaurant, you'd hear that song. Yeah. It was everywhere. It was massive.
Yes.
And so, yes, I just love the song. And like I said, for no other reason than it had to be in the top 5.
Yeah, it's a really smart song, really good song. It actually didn't make my top 5.
I kind of knew it wouldn't.
Yeah?
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling.
You predicted that, huh?
I predicted that.
Okay.
So far, we've had no matches.
No matches, though. My number 3 is "Galway Girl."
I knew you picked that one, too.
I mean, I'm just a sucker.
Yeah.
For the Irish flutes, Celtic feel.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh, man. It's so good. I'm just a sucker for that. And it has it in the chorus beautifully. And he just... evokes that Celtic feel, and then he does that rap lyric thingy.
He does
in the verses.
Yeah.
So that's 2 so far of mine where he does that. I really love it. So I guess when he masquerades as a rapper, I kind of like it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, gotta take a sip of my coffee. Number 2. All right. So that was "Galway Girl." Number 3. Number 2 was "Icy Fire." This is the first song that I heard where I just sort of took notice in The Hobbit.
And I knew we would both have this song on our list.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's just really good. It's that story.
I just gave it away, didn't I?
Yeah,
Sorry.
It's fine. That's all right. So it's just a beautiful song. It evokes, and it's such a cool story. I mean, it's told kind of from the perspective of the dwarves in the movie, but it doesn't have to be taken from that perspective. Yes. I always like to imagine it can be just soldiers at war, brothers at war in any circumstance, and it can fit in a hyper metaphorical way, and whenever I listen to it that way, it moves me particularly. So I put that at number 2. What about you?
My number 2 is a song called "Dive." And again, this is one that not everybody is familiar with, but it was off the Divide album.
Yeah.
It harkens back to me to the simplicity. It reminds me of something Eric Clapton would do. It sounds like a guy in a bar with maybe, a 3-man band, somebody with the guitar, somebody with the bass, and somebody with the drum. Just kind of just sitting there hanging out and telling the story. This song moves me because it gives you that feeling of he's exploring his relationship with this particular girl, and asking himself, okay, before I commit to you, are you worth diving into? Is your world worth diving into?
Yeah.
And gives all these reasons, the good and the bad, of the things that he sees, and it's kind of almost pleading with her. It's like, okay, be straight with me before I die, before I jump off the diving board here.
Yeah.
Tell me if this is if this is going to be a real thing. Am I going to be playing the sucker here?
Sure.
So again, all about the feeling, all about that just simple melody. I also like that his emotion in the song is very strong, and he doesn't always do this. I can only think of one or two other instances where he's like yelling the lyric, where you can hear it kind of cracking in his voice because he's just got so much emotion behind it and usually he's very controlled.
Yes.
In his vocal measurements, obviously to sing the way he does and how fast, and to keep, not get tongue tied and all that is just amazing. So it's one of the few times where I feel like his raw emotion comes through the music. You can feel what he's feeling when he's singing these lyrics. And of course, again, it's all about the feels.
Right. It's all about the feels. Well, that means your number one is Icy Fire.
My number one is Icy Fire.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I already expounded on the story behind how he made the song. So that, I think what made Icy Fire be my number one, because I love the song for all the reasons of which you articulated, but then you have the story behind it and the fact that he did all the music and he wrote it and recorded it all in one day. It just makes me go, oh, well, that just kind of pushes it into the atmosphere. Plus this is one of those songs, no matter where I am in the room, if I'm driving, I'm sitting alone in the room, this is one of those songs where you gotta go, shh, okay, turn it up and everybody shut up.
Yeah.
Because this is one of his more understated songs.
It is.
He's very even toned, even kind of low and mellow. This is a song you can almost fall asleep to.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a bad way, like it's boring. It's soothing, and yet it has this very emotional story tied behind it. And inspired by The Hobbit, obviously.
Right.
And I agree with you. I think it was told from that perspective. But again, you can relate it to just about anything, any kind of sense of loss or big, I don't know, daunting thing in front of you that you just don't know what the outcome's going to be. And a lot of that is metaphor for life, so I resonated with the song. I love it. I crank it up whenever it comes on, whenever I hear it on the radio. It's top tier, for obviously. Yeah. But from my opinion.
It's such a great song. So I put number one, as I was going through sort of the Ed Sheeran playlist, going through all his songs, and this is the song where I do that, where you just said, where I just have to stop and listen to it. And it's another Fire song. It's a Fire Love from the Multiply album. That's the song where the story is just utterly unique and beautiful and heart-wrenching.
Yes.
And that, even just thinking about it, it puts me in that place, of listening to the song. When you can think of that song and then you're immediately in that place where you're listening to it, that to me is the mark of an utterly pristine song, of an utterly perfect song. And I just that song just gets me every time. I cannot help but feel things listening to that story being told the way it is told.
Yeah.
And the progression of time that is done from verse to verse, the optimism in the face of despair as well.
Yeah, and loss.
Bringing the fact that this loss brought his family together in a sense.
Yes.
Is a really what a utterly relatable feeling that we all feel at one point or another, how something horrible can bring people together in such a weird, he says, tied together with the strangest something or other. But it's just beautiful.
That's awesome.
So that's my number one.
That's great. Well, you know what? I almost said, I think there's one song that's going to be the same of ours, but I wouldn't be surprised if all the rest were different.
And that was exactly what happened.
But that's exactly what happened. I didn't tell you we'd have the one to say, but if we were going to have one, I knew it was going to be Icy Fire. I just kind of knew it. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you had it number 2 and I had it number 1, we're almost like in sync there. So, yeah, that part's not a big surprise to me. But it's kind of funny. I knew that we'd go in different directions with all the other songs. And so that was cool. So just to run back down through them again, I have my top 5 as from bottom to top as Runaway, Happier / Perfect, Shape of You, Dive is number 2, and of course Icy Fire.
Mm-hmm. My 5 was Nina, 4 was What Do I Know, 3 is Galway Girl, 2 is Icy Fire, and 1 was A Fire Love.
So you literally have 2/3 songs that were released as singles, because At A Fire Love, even though it wasn't released as a single, he did feature that somewhere. It was being played on radio, and I don't understand all the specifics about when a single becomes a real single that comes out and when it's just featured, and maybe that's just because everybody comes in and says, oh, I love this song, you gotta play it. Sure. So it gets to kind of have a following. But yeah, that's interesting. You only had a couple of actual charted songs.
Only a couple
that were on your list.
That's right.
So just to give you an example, here is actually Ed Sheeran's top 10 songs.
Okay.
And these are done by official charts company who basically looks at Billboard. They look at how high a song peaked, how long it stayed there, what the sales were. They do an algorithm of a bunch of different statistics that they take. And so this is what they come up as what Ed Sheeran's top 10. They're actually number 10 is our number 1, pretty close, which is Icy Fire, which peaked at number 13, but it was on the list for a long time. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of interesting that those songs that kind of don't quite peak, but yet people like them enough that it stays on there for a while. Yeah. Number 9 was one that neither one of us did, Bloodstream. That's, of course, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Particularly, I saw him do this live. It was my favorite song that he did live. Mm-hmm. Castle on the Hill's number 8. Don't is number 7. Mm-hmm. Lego House, another one of my favorites, is number 6. Number 5 is Photograph. I had kind of I grew to like that song, the Photograph song. So that's one of those ones that kind of grew on me. Sometimes you hear a song and you're like, I don't get it, but then over time it kind of sinks into your bones. Uh-huh. That one was there. That one peaked at 15, but it obviously did some good there. Mm-hmm. Sing was number 4. Shape of You, number 3, not a big surprise. Number 2, The A-Team, which of course was his breakout song, particularly in America. Yeah. And then actually his number 1 song is one that neither one of us had on our top 5, but it is known to be one of his biggest hits, and that's Thinking Out Loud. Mm-hmm. I blame radio disc jockeys for why that song is not in my top 5. Yeah. Because it just got played and played and played.
It was overplayed.
I mean, I loved the song when it first came out. Yeah. But it was one of those songs where definitely it's like, okay, I'm tired of the song. Yes. And so I think that's it almost kind of unfairly got shelved for me to not include. But I knew I wasn't going to include it because it just it had lost its potency for me. Sure. Yeah.
And I try not to judge a song based on how much it is played.
I try to too. It's hard.
You can't help it sometimes. Yeah. It's that just didn't make it for us on the top 5. We need to get to our homework though. Yes. We're almost out of time. So you could start with me or you.
I'll start with me then.
Okay. Bill Wurtz.
Bill Wurtz.
Yeah. What do you think?
This was another fun one.
Oh, good.
I mean, you've been giving me YouTube people, basically, or things that I go through
it's the only thing I know you don't listen to.
And well, it doesn't have to be things I don't listen to. You could, whatever.
Okay, sure.
Throw me some other assignment. But anyway, Bill Wurtz is a multi-instrumental and online video creator. He's known for his distinctive musical and comedic style, which includes kind of his, I guess, deadpan delivery. Yeah, of singing paired with actually colorful, surrealist, psychedelic, whatever graphics, even non sequitur in some cases, where the graphics don't match what he's singing about at all. Yeah. So one of the things that impressed me about his music is that first of all, he's a total optimist. Yeah. Even when he's singing about unpleasant things like a kid not wanting to go to school, somehow he seems to make that a happy thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just really funny. The two songs that really stuck out with me is first of all the Alphabet.
The Alphabet Shuffle.
The Alphabet Shuffle song.
I like that one.
I don't know why we don't teach our kids to sing the ABCs that way. I mean, because you guys, I'm sure you learned your ABCs the same way most people do, like the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star version.
Yeah.
A, B, C, D, E, F. You know, I think they should teach them like Bill Wurtz. A, B, C, D. Well, wait.
Yeah, listen. I'm a music teacher, and I taught my 4-year-olds the Alphabet Shuffle, the preschoolers, and we sing it that way: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. H-I-J-K L-M-N-O-P. We sing it that way instead.
Yeah, I think it's great.
It's way better.
It's way better.
Yeah.
So we need to do what we got to do to make a change. The other one that I liked that was probably my favorite was La-di-da-di-da-di-da-di-Deo.
Yeah.
And it's just fun. You listen to it and the tune is stuck in your head all the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you for introducing me to him. That was fun.
Yeah. Bill Wurtz, he has a viral video, The History of the World, that's like a 20-minute video, and that was a viral hit of his. It's not a music thing, but it was viral. One of my favorites that went viral of his is just like a 4 or 5 second video. It's just him being like, "Oh, hi, thanks for tuning in. I'm still a piece of garbage," which I love. So anyway, that was Bill Wurtz. My assignment was James Blunt. He's the "You're beautiful" guy.
Yes.
He's that guy.
So just to give a little bit of background, he basically was coming up around the same time Ed Sheeran was.
Is that right?
Yeah. So his first album, I think he released in 2010.
Okay.
And of course, the Ed Sheeran one, well, not his first album, but the first, US release. I think Ed Sheeran did 2011. So,
yeah.
And they're both English singer-songwriters.
Right. So I mean, his hits they were not the ones that spoke to me the most, like the "You're beautiful" and the "Goodbye My Lover" song.
Yeah,
his voice character is just goofy sometimes. Like it's that hyper breathy, like back of the throat sound. So that brought me out of the experience a lot of times. And the times when it worked were when it was unintentionally kind of funny. I was listening to Bonfire Heart, which is another song of his, and it goes, there's this echoey chorus he does, and then it has that Mumford and Sons but bad feel to it.
Yeah, that's a bad
Mumford and Sons kind of feel to it. That was really popular for a while, like the "What Do I Stand For?" "Wake Me Up When You..." That whole phase of music that sort of went away. Not that those songs are bad, but some did it better than others. And I also like 1973. Oh, that was the song that had the "and we sang" like that. He says it very weird at the bridge. And
I like it, though. It kind of goes with the characterization of the song.
Not to me. To me,
not really?
I thought it was hilarious.
Oh, I thought I kind of like it.
So that made me laugh. My favorite...
it's goofy. That's my point.
Okay, yeah, but that's the point. That's why... I mean, it was goofy. Yeah. Okay, but then he had, like, "Carry You Home" was a very solid song. "Same Mistake" was a good song with a rhyme scheme that sort of melts through the song.
See, I'm going to have to listen to that one. That one's not hitting my...
"Wise Men" was my favorite, though. "Wise Men" was my favorite that he did. So he's got some gems in there. His hits are not my favorite. So if you just know him for "Yeah, beautiful," just if you feel like going to deeper dive, there are some gems in there, like "Wise Men" and "Same Mistake" and "Carry You Home" is a very solid song.
Good.
So those are my favorites by him.
Well, good. I'm glad you got something out of that one.
Yes. All right, so now we got to assign each other homework for next podcast, and then we got to sign off because we've been talking about Ed Sheeran for almost an hour. That's a long time. All right, so do you have an assignment for me?
I do.
Okay.
And you know an artist named Jack Johnson?
No. I mean, not by name.
So there you go. This is what I'm doing. I'm broad, and I'm kind of...
Yeah.
I guess I'm kind of giving you another singer-songwriter, guitar player,
That's fine.
Yeah, check him out.
will.
He's another one like James Blunt that I don't feel has gotten his due.
Okay. Yeah.
And you'll recognize some of the songs, and other ones will be new, and tell me what you think.
I'll give him a look. All right, so I know you've listened to some Watsky.
I do.
I know you were. I was listening to Cardboard Castles on repeat. It's an album of his. I was listening to that on repeat for years of my life. But I want you to look at an album he released after that called Times Infinity.
Okay.
And it's spelled X space Infinity. And the album's called Times Infinity. So that's your homework. That album by Wurtz. He's a rap artist. Got his breakout on the internet, and then just became a rap artist just outside of the internet. And has his own following. One of my favorites rappers. My exposure to rap is somewhat limited based on compared to other genres of music. I prefer the rappers going through an existential crisis. Those are my favorite rappers, and Watsky's one of them.
All right, well, speaking of rap, we should wrap this up.
Let's wrap it up.
Thank you all very much for listening, and what?
I don't know. We don't have a sign-off yet.
No, we don't.
Follow us on Twitter. We just got our Twitter set up at Beat Measure. That's our Twitter. Send us your response to the podcast. Send us topics, things you want us to talk about. Make sure we know about it.
All right? Any of our podcasts you have comments on, or things we missed, or things you think we're off the mark on, go ahead, leave us some comments. We want to know.
Yeah, and send us your top 5 Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, talk to you later.
Thanks, bye-bye.